morning, everybody. And I hope you are all refreshed now to take on this session. Like ma'am said, today we'll be talking about blog writing. How, as teachers, you can use blog writing to disseminate and spread and share more information. When I was going through the timetable, I also saw that you had a session on flipped classrooms. So through blogs, a big aspect of flipped classrooms can be incorporated in your pedagogy. That also we'll talk about. Then the other part of the topic for today's discussion, which has been given to me, is discussion, starting or encouraging or initiating online discussions on topics. So for that, I'm going to touch upon briefly on two platforms for networking. And these are not social media platforms, these are professional networking platforms, and these are Twitter and LinkedIn. So without further ado, let's begin the session. I hope I'm clearly audible and my entire session in English is good enough for all the members here today. Can anybody just give me a yes or a confirmation of the same through any which
Yes,
means,
ma'am.
please? Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Parvati. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. So what I'll do is I'll start sharing my screen, the PPT, the handouts. There are two PPTs that I'll be referring to today. So I'll be sharing those PPTs. There are handouts also that accompany these PPTs. They will also be shared with Amandeep ma'am so that they can be passed on to you. So do not worry about the content that is going to be shared with you. So I'm going to talk about blog writing. Before I initiate blog writing or take up the session, I'd like to share with you a very interesting aspect of blog writing, the way my outfit, Philyra, has managed it for youngsters. So we are into life skills and soft skills training, and we start working with young individuals, young adults as well. So as young as 13, 14 years of age, students come to us to get some guidance about how they can enhance their life skills and soft skills to make better decisions, informed decisions about their future, their choices regarding career and higher academic studies. So in that case, we encourage all our students to take up blog writing. It does many things for them. It gets them into the habit of writing. It helps them to develop a tenacity, a temperament for research that is very strenuous, which can become mind-boggling if one is not accustomed to it from younger age. That is why when we have the IB curriculum, the International Baccalaureate Curriculum, or IGSC, which is the main medium of teaching outside India, research has been introduced into the curriculum, the study for youngsters as early as class 8. So from 13, 14 years of age, these students get into the habit of researching problem statements and developing their own responses to them, essays. So that is what blog writing does for them. It also unleashes their creativity because now they will be writing blogs to engage with multitude of audience. So it wouldn't be someone with a certain perspective. The blog cannot entirely be written with a scholarly view or a scholarly taste. It needs to pander to the requirements. It needs to pander to the tastes of people coming from different learner personalities. So that ways it encourages our youngsters to be more creative with their expression. So not all textual elements were word or written elements would go in a blog. So there's a lot of audio visual content that also goes. And our youngsters have who've started, developing their blogs, have received offers from established blogging websites like Huffington Post or internationally acclaimed literary websites like Visual Verse to get, or even the Speaking Tree, because there was someone who had that kind of an inclination to have their articles or their blogs featured or published on these bigger websites, blogging websites, and also receive monetary compensation for their content. So someone as young as that becomes aware of the possibility of blog writing, the possibility of information sharing, develops an entirely different perspective towards acquiring information and sharing information, and then finally presenting it also. So that is why we have these sessions on blog writing. I have also found students, youngsters, especially in remote locations. For example, I have students from Baroda, from Ahmednagar, I have students from Goa, students from Dehradun, Jammu, Banaras, Calcutta, and Hyderabad. These interior tier 2 cities, and some even tier 3 cities like Ambala and other places, they go on to do well. They go on to have a good um, content displayed on their resume or their profile when they're finally presenting it for um, recruitment purposes or getting admission into higher universities, when they say that they are publishers of a blog and they write blogs about different things. So I have students write blogs about culinary skills. I have students writing blogs about everyday things that appeal to a teenager. I have students writing blogs about creative writing. I have students publishing their stories, their prose content, their poetry via blogs. Of course, I have grown ups, teachers who share, academicians, scholars who share their fresh research through blogs. I have people from the corporate setup in different industries like the IT industry, agri-tech industry, financial management services. They all indulge in a lot of marketing through blog writing. Besides, blog writing will only work if it is done on a regular basis. So that means in itself that there is an inherent discipline in writing a blog. It is altogether a different ball game whether our blog is popular or not. But if at regular intervals we are putting out content, that means there's a lot of discipline within us as far as sharing of content, developing content, and sharing content is concerned. So that is why I advocate blog writing immensely. It may not be possible for your students to start taking up blog writing about topics or subjects that they're studying in the classroom. First, because they may not have the comfort or confidence, and second, they might just find it very distasteful that even in their spare time or their time outside the academic hours, they are involved in academic activity. So just keeping apart or leaving apart the academic nature of information, if all the other aspects related to blog writing can be inculcated in our students through writing blogs about activities and things that interest them, then please do encourage it. And also, what I'm going to share with you is going to be of immense value to you as teachers, scholars, advanced researchers of your topic area or subject. So let's begin today's session. And the first thing when we want to write a blog is we need to do our spade work. We need to know what is it that we want to write about, why we want to write about it, how we are going to write, and when all we are going to publish and who's going to read. So basically, or essentially, the 5 W's and 1 H need to be answered. And these are answered through our initial work on blog writing, which I have given the acronym or assigned the acronym of GAPS. G stands for genre. What am I going to write? What is going to be my area or my treatment of the subject? Is it going to be informative? Is it going to be humorous? Is it going to be uh, uh, is it going to be a realistic view on society? Is it going to be my personal commentary, documentation? Is it going to be a thriller? Is it going to be something which is more experiment based, experiential blog, wherein I will also put a video of me performing that experiment, immersing myself in that whole experience? So that is the first thing that everybody needs to answer for themselves to head in the right direction and to be able to stick to the format, to the theme of their blogs. Why should one stick to the themes of their blog is, first, it allows the writer, the person, you, to know what kind of content they have to produce. And deep study or deep research into a particular subject is possible only when one does not distract or move away from a particular line of inquiry, from a particular method of presenting, developing and presenting content. Because otherwise we getting distracted, we go haywire in all the directions. Every blog might be interesting, but real progress as to while writing the blogs, are we actually gaining as writers? Are we actually learning anything new about the topic or subject? Does not really happen till the time we go deeper. So if we are compelled to follow just one line of inquiry, we have no other way to turn to. Like Robert Frost said, there was a fork in the road, so I took the road less traveled, and continuing on that road will lead us to deep woods. The same way, genre should be fixed. Encourage your students also to take up a genre that allows for specialization, which I was talking about earlier. Next thing, it could either be style or audience. In what style am I going to write? Am I going to write in easy English? Am I going to write a little bit of Hindi and English? I have had people who use Hindi script to write Hindi words in the same blog, using the Latin script to write English words. So it's a mixture of both the content. Am I going to include a little bit of videos, audios, pictures, non-textual element? What is it going to be? So, for example, for a student who was writing a culinary skills, a blog based on culinary skills, she wrote very little bit of content. Most of her blog had lots of pictures. So the entire recipe was shown through pictures or images as part of the steps, or as steps of the process, and recipe was written down in one text box. Every step or every picture image had a title to it, and they came in a sequence, so that more or less shared or elaborated for the readers how the recipe has to be followed. And she wrote a very small story as to how this what is the significance of this dish in her life, perhaps the way it was created, perhaps when she first tasted it, perhaps it has become a sign or symbol of some kind of a particular celebration. So, those are the things that you need to clearly think about, because then when you sit down to write, most of your tools, most of your questions are answered in this initial spade work. The way that I have made the spade work is like a mind map. So, you can even make a mind map of these things. So, in one glance, one can take in the look or take in the gist of how my blog is going to shape up and look. Next is the audience. For whom are you writing? Are you writing for advanced professionals and experts? Then this blog better be published as a newsletter or an article on LinkedIn, because there are many people who are experts and researchers in their field who are present on the LinkedIn website, professional networking website. And there, the content that you're writing will garner a lot of readership. And that is how you will be able to engage the audience, get their response, and from the response as well, learn a lot of things. But otherwise, if you're writing it for a casual read, it is good to submit it for reading on various websites wherein there's a lot of readership or subscription for casual reading. Or you can perhaps even have your own blogging website. It can be set up on Blogspot or WordPress. We support our students, our participants to make a blog of their own, blogging handle of their own, and there they can reach out to different kind of audience, and there's greater freedom in writing for oneself, one's own blogging presence. And then finally, the purpose. Why are you writing it? Do you want to gauge how people respond to what you're writing, or how you are inquiring or studying a particular topic? Then that means Not only will you have to write the blog, but you will have to engage a lot with the audience. So if there's a comment to your blog, you need to reply to it. You need to pick up words from the comment, encourage a discussion, have more people talking about it, so that you can gauge how they receive content or what is the latest buzz about a particular topic. Or is it just sharing for the fun of sharing? Perhaps somebody would like to read and have a good time and have a little bit of warm feeling, fuzzy feeling in the heart when they read your blog. These things should be very clear because they etch out the direction in which we want to hit. So after taking care of that gaps, what do we need to do? We need to have a clarity about how we are going to present content in a blog. Now, there are certain aspects which I've put down here, these 5 aspects of presentation of content in a blog. The first is inverted pyramid form of writing. Now, this is also a journalistic form of writing. Whereas in creative writing pieces, we have hook, line, and sinker. The heaviest thing, the juiciest bit comes at the end of the composition, which is correct for creative writing because we want to build up the climax and then there is resolution, and that is how the witch's hat diagram goes in a plot, development of a plot. But that is not the case in blog writing because there are so many people writing about the topic that you are writing. The keywords which present themselves in your blog will be present in so many other people's writings as well. So that means you need to provide all the juicy bits in the beginning and then go on to do your narrow inquiry into that topic by forming a pyramid. Now, what happens is the top portion, the broadest portion, which answers the 5 W's and 1 H, at the beginning itself catches the people's attention because it provides them all the information and they like to know more about certain aspect, and you can take up each and every aspect in a different blog. So while the top layer remains the same, the initial part of the blog talks about the same thing for the next 4 or 5 in the series. You can have different tips tapering into the blog at the end of it. So that is called inverted form, pyramid form of writing. We need to engage the audience. They have just 17 seconds of attention span, and within those 17 seconds some people waver to other blogs on the same topic because Google search engine shows blogs when a keyword is typed, blogs which are most popular, most visited, most read at the top, and while the others come at the bottom. So in any case, at the first glance, within milliseconds, a person is presented with plenty, umpteen number of options to read on a particular keyword or key phrase. So that means we need to be very juicy. We need to be very engaging at the beginning itself. Next thing one needs to take care of while presentation of content is putting yourself in place of the readers. And in this case, 7 C's of communication help us a lot in understanding what would our readers want to read. So the screen cannot be filled up with too many words. The font style cannot be very difficult to understand, even for someone who's wearing glasses to read, even for someone who spends so much of hours on the screen on the laptop and is reading your blog towards the end of their day. So their eyes are tired and dry. So it should be convenient for them. It should be relevant for readers who do not technically understand the subject, who are just there or just reading your blog, exploring your blog out of their own interest in that area. For example, photography. They may not understand curvature of the lens, the penumbra, the umbra, the lighting and all that, but they have an interest in it. So rather than intimidating them with technical terms, make it easier for them to understand and connect with your content. So the more technical it is in nature, more intense, more deeply researched and narrower it is, the more the requirement for it to be lighter and easier to read and understand. It shouldn't be like Shashi Tharoor's blogs, writings, articles, for which one needs to have a dictionary to understand what is being conveyed. Next is it should provide opportunity to present content through pictures, images, and diagrams. Because, like I was saying earlier, there are multiple learner personalities. Some will read and understand, some will listen and understand, some will see and understand, some will touch and understand. So there are so many things. So you can even encourage your participants to perform an experiment. You can record the experiment and put it on your YouTube channel. The link can be embedded in your blog, and that is how it can show up. I write blogs of three types. First is the blog, which I write for, these are short blogs, which I write as accompaniments or short pieces of text for content that I post on Instagram for spiritual well being. I write professional blogs on management and topics of training and coaching for soft skills and life skills development, which is posted on my company's website, which has a page on blogs. And I also simultaneously record short videos to accompany what I have written, because not all the people are going to read those 300 or even 150 words. So I have to convey to them succinctly in a very appealing and engaging manner using the audio visual media. Then I write blogs about my creative writing, my area of interest, and life in general, which I post on my personal blog, Suditi's Verbosity. It does not have any videos attached to it, but it does have pictures embedded in it in the body of the blog. And believe you me, all these three types of blogs have their own readership, have their own viewership, and I receive a lot of engagement through them. So that is how pictures, images, and diagrams have helped me to improve the quality of content that I put out. I've had people, like I said, the blogs written by one of our students of her work with CRI got her a huge scholarship to study in a reputed university, UBC, and she secured 70 lakh rupees of scholarship this year. So she's going to study PPE course, the most coveted course there, just because of her blog writing. Another thing that you need to take care of while presenting the content and before you actually finish or finalize your piece is length. Usually, two scrolls of a regular size mobile phone is what a person would read. Only when they are a loyal reader or they are sold out to the content that you are putting out, will they go to multiple scrolls after the two scrolls of the screen. So that means somewhere between 150 to 200 words or 250 words maximum is what a person is going to read, because I'm also including space for a little bit of non-textual element. For example, a picture, or perhaps a box, of text box, which has a summary gist or key points within the main piece of writing. So that is how the length is determined. Then we have title, search engine optimization, tagging, and hyperlinks. We are posting content on the World Wide Web, www. A web is formed through interconnections between various points in an open space. That is how a web is formed by a spider. So the more the hyperlinks, more the interconnectivity in all the content that we post on the web, on the internet, the better are the chances of it being shown up or showing up in all and different searches. So if there are certain organizations, individuals, or places or ideas that we have referred to, and we find a link to their website, a link to their social media or professional media presence, we should copy that link and embed in the text of our blog. So that is how hyperlinks are born. Tagging is when we are posting it on, let's say, YouTube, or we are posting our content on LinkedIn, not independent blog, but otherwise, then we can tag it to people, persons, and places. If they are also present on YouTube, on the same platform, they are also present. So when we put the symbol at the rate and put the first two letters of their name, automatically the software prompts us to pick up names which are a part of our connection, or perhaps whom we regularly follow, and which match the first two letters, and they can be tagged. We can also include independent tags in independent posts, but those are included through hashtags. That is why the word tagging. When you go to Google search engine and you find out popular tags about, let's say, popular tags about nanotechnology. So there's a website that will throw at you the tags which are being searched most in number these days or in the present times, so that most of the people are going online and looking for this tag. It becomes trending on Twitter, but otherwise one comes to know what is being searched mostly. So these are the tags that we should embed in our text at the bottom, and also during writing the text. If there are certain words, for example, nanotechnology, and I talk about let's talk about use of nanotechnology in emulsions, that is being used immensely, or that is being searched most frequently by people these days. So that means I should use the word emulsions somewhere in my blog, and in that word I should embed the link to the tag, and that is how it will show up automatically when people are typing in open search. Now, when I do these things, when I have hyperlinks and tagging, automatically my search engine optimization is done, because it has number of links, it has popular words and content that is being searched for. So automatically any search engine, whether it is Firefox, whether it's Mozilla, whether it is Google, will throw it above the other content which are not much optimized by the writers or the creators. Finally, the title of the content should be such that it should at least have a popular word or a keyword related to the topic in the title itself, and the title should convey clearly what the article talks about. There should not be any kind of a mismatch, or no amalgamation or similarity between what the title says. Just for hype and getting SEO, we've used words which are remotely related but not directly related to what we've written. Then it will seem to people who search and land on our page that we are perhaps producing spam and not something worth reading. So this is about the presentation of content. And finally, it should have continuous flow. So you should start publishing your blogs only after you've developed a sequence or a schedule. So if, for example, a good schedule is once in a fortnight, but people can even go up to once in a month, or some people go up to many times in a day, once a day to many times in a day. But I feel that would be too much to keep up with, because we are not doing blog writing full time. We are not behaving like social media influencers who have a blog, a video blog every day, and lots of small bits of stories, pictures and content throughout the day. We are not doing that. So that is why develop a good schedule for yourself, which is easy for you to maintain, because it is not only about posting, it is also about writing. Before writing, one needs to do the research also. So, and once you have the content ready for the next 3 to 4 weeks, according to your schedule, whether it is once in a fortnight, or whether it is once a week or once a month, once you have it, have the content ready for 4 to 6 weeks with yourself, please then start publishing your blog, because then you have a repository to fall back upon just in case you do not get the time to develop, create and write a blog in the time period that you plan for yourself, because there could be so many other things that are of course primary in your, or a priority in your schedule, that you need to take care of, and this will need to take a backseat. But once there is no continuous flow, the readership that is hooked on to receiving content from you, that enjoys receiving content from you, may feel disappointed, dejected, and may switch loyalties to someone else who's writing similar blogs, and then it is a matter of developing a relationship, a comfort with a reader, with a writer, and they might just not return to your blog when you do not give them a schedule, even if the schedule is which has a long gap, but they know, they are prepared. Oh, this guy publishes only one article in a month, or it's going to be only one article in a fortnight. So I'll come back after a fortnight. I'll come back after 14 days and check. I'll come back next month and check. And in between those 30 days, there's going to be nothing. So then they are already prepared. Their expectation setting is done. But once you cannot set their expectations, then they lose their expectations from you and they switch elsewhere, because after all it is mass media content. It is connecting with the people on the larger scale. So first thing is inverted pyramid form of writing, which I've already shared with you, which I've explained in detail to you. 5 W's and 1 H, and all the information on the top. Next thing is putting yourself in the place of the readers. So once I talk about two-way communication process, I need to engage with their comments also and further discussion. Pictures, images, diagrams, you can get your own pictures. You can, steps can be
3 बजे
illustrated like
3 बजे करूंगा मैं, अभी नहीं कर रहा, मेरे काम है, मेरे को काम चल रहा है, मेरा बिजी हूँ। एक बार सिर्फ फोटो कॉपी देख लीजिए, बाकी तो
if you have taken a picture from some
अभी नहीं
other
कर
source,
पाऊंगा मैं चेक,
then it is
मेरी भी
good.
क्लास चल रही
It
है।
is better. It is better to take a picture from another source. Take the picture, put it in your blog, put a link to the source, for example, Hindustan Times, Times of India, these kind of popular newspapers or blogging or readership platforms, and give credit to them that it has been picked up from there. So there will be no plagiarism posted at you. There will no plagiarism assigned to you, and also the link will be very strong with a very important or a very popular blogging website. And if you've taken up content from another blogger, write a comment to them, write a personal message to them seeking permission, and then use their content, assigning them credit. Without credit, it's going to be plagiarism. These are things that I've already talked about. Only thing that remains is longer blogs are always appreciated, but that happens once you have a loyal readership. So if you have people, even 20 people reading and commenting or liking, I think that is good enough to begin with, because we are not taking up blog writing professionally, not as a full-time activity. So even 20 people enjoy your blogs, like, out of which 7 8 comment, I think that is good. So that is the time when you can start writing longer blogs. This I have already talked about. Another thing that is missed here, which I want to cover up, is you should include a link in your text, in the text main body of your blog, after every 20 to 25 words, or after every 2 to 3 sentences, not 20 to 25 sentences. Words here is missing. Not too much of blue ink showing in the black running text, because then it comes across as spamming, and too much of linking, too much trying too hard to be search engine optimized, then the other person is put off. But then it should be there after every 25 to 30 words or after every 2 sentences. This I've shared with you how you can plan so that you have a continuous flow and your readership does not feel disappointed once you cannot post regularly, and they do not switch loyalties. And another way to have content posted is to fix it on your schedule. Fix a day and time. So most of the times
ये
I
मैं चला
go
इनका मत
out
चला,
on Wednesday, and I
बंद कर
fix
दो।
the time of 10 between 10:30 and 11 a.m. And when I'm taking a break, there's a break of 2 months, then I again start from posting a blog on Wednesdays. So this helps me also. So the moment I remind myself, oh, we are getting back into shooting videos and writing blogs, I know my Wednesdays would be dedicated to that. So this was all that I wanted to talk about blog writing. Are there any questions? Please ask me now. All right. Before I go to Twitter and LinkedIn, there is something that I want to show you. Now, what I did was I looked up uh, popular science blogs that we should read in present day and age. So this was an open search on Google, And here are the 100 best science blogs that you should follow in 2023. So it is not always about blog writing. Even as readers, as people searching for new knowledge, will like to read what other people are talking about. So you can put up this kind of an open search and see they have given us 100 options. So New Scientist magazine, and you can follow them. So the moment you follow them, it will ask you for an email address. You can give your personal or your professional email address, and there in your email, in your inbox, you will receive notifications whenever the New Scientist magazine publishes a new blog, and perhaps a small insight into what is it that they are talking about in this blog. Then they have SciAm, or Scientific American Magazine. Again, we can follow them. So that means either we'll be following them on Facebook or Twitter. So what is their frequency? They post 30 posts per week. And this is how people, FeedSpot has 14.2K followers for them on its umbrella website. This is very nice. Wired posts amazing YouTube videos, which are experiments, which can be watched by you, which can be incorporated by you for your flipped classrooms or even otherwise in your regular pedagogy. And your students can perform them with you, even if they are enrolled or joining the session in an online modality, or they are present in your classroom. You can play the session or video on the big screen while you collect the material and perform the experiment for them in the lab or in front of them. So Wired has amazing content, which I personally like, someone from being a non-scientific background. So there are so many such blogs that you can follow. Reading them, now I looked up science, because I thought I have technical teachers with me, so science would be something of an interest to them. But there are many such blogs available for many subjects. We cannot even think what subjects, and they are very specific also. Space research, space travel, so there are different categories. Adventure tourism, hiking tourism. So even blogs on these kind of activities are available, and you can look them up, follow them, and read them regularly to know how other people are writing and generating content for their own blogs. This will give you an idea about how to use this modality for presenting or sharing information about your own areas of interest. If there are no questions, I'd like to now move on to how to encourage discussions in an online platform via Twitter and LinkedIn. Are there any questions from blog writing, please? You'll have to unmute and say, because I can only see my screen here. All right, I guess not. Being the optimist that I am, I like to believe that the session was completely comprehensive, informative, and I have actually saturated you with all the information that there is, so there are no questions. All right, so now we are going to talk about VCN, visibility, credibility, networking on Twitter and LinkedIn. And these in itself will help us to know how we can start online discussions using these two platforms. How many of you have profiles ready and accounts made on LinkedIn? You can just say yes. Yes, I saw, I got a
Yes.
response. Yes. Just a couple? Okay. Now I have to share an example with you how LinkedIn works and also how Twitter works and the power of these portals. So one of our students was studying in Punjab Engineering College here in Chandigarh. And this guy went to study at Masters in Structural Engineering at UC Berkeley, University College Berkeley, USA. And he went on 1 crore of scholarship, 100% waiver of tuition fee. So he's top of the class. It's 9 months of master's program. And this was deferred admission, deferred 50% scholarship. They wanted him to study, say, Rupee they could not collect. He could not collect he and his family could not collect the amount in 1 year at the time of admission. So he wrote an email requesting for a deferred admission because so that he could generate funds for his education. And once he joined, he applied for further scholarship and he got 100% scholarship. So now this guy is top of the class and he's studying. It's a 9 months program. So he says, I have got no time to network. I've just been preparing assignments, submitting them, and I'm doing pretty well. I am amongst the top 5 in my batch of, I think, just 12 or 13 people in the class. Outside India, the master's classes are not so big. When I was taking up my master's in creative writing, this is in 2016-17, there were only 6 of us. And we were studying in Durham University. The literature department where I was studying is the most difficult, most sought after literature department of the world, even above, ranked above the University of Oxford. So it is actually very difficult. So they had only 6 people studying and they made us do a lot of work. And believe you me, when he said that I had no time to even put my head up and see what is happening around me, I could trust him. So, but then it was nearing the end of his um, uh, end of program, masters, and this boy did not have any job, and his parents had taken out a loan, mortgage on the property to fund his living expenses. Tuition fee was waived 100%, but what about living costs? They had to be funded. So his parents had taken out a mortgage on their family home. So he was very worried. So was his family. So I asked him, Mayank, why haven't you done anything about it? And he said that I've had no time. Then I said, can I take a look at your resume? And then he sent the resume to
मैंने अपन बच्चे को भेजा था जो पेपर सबमिट करके जा रहा था ना पहले मैं कंट्रोल करके खड़ी थी फिर मैंने बच्चे को बोला कि जाओ 405 में 504 में वहाँ जाके बोलो कि नाम के ऑप्शन में जाना कोई भेजो वहाँ से शीट्स कलेक्ट करना उनमें से फिर
अच्छा मेरा तो मैम क्या हुआ ना कि फिर सामने वाले सबको बोला मैंने
Can I request the support from Nita to please mute the participants?
थोड़ी जल्दी है ना जल्दी है मैम ये मेरा वो ट्रेनिंग कर अटेंड की
We can even have them moving out of the session. Great. Thank you so much for that. All right. So this guy told me that he's not had time to do any networking and even not had time to post his resume anywhere on Indeed, Monster, or any other portal wherein jobs are offered. So we worked on his resume, changed it. Then also he got 2 or 3 calls, but then he was not very happy with the jobs being offered. Then finally we asked him, have you spent time with your course director? He said no. So he and another boy were the 2 only ones left without a job. The other boy, I believe, was from Germany. They both took the course director out for lunch and he complimented them because they both were top performers and he liked them. And then he asked them, what is it that he can help them with? And Mayank very quickly said that I do not have a job yet and I do not know what to do. My parents have taken out a loan to fund my living here and I would really want to work here to get the experience. So what the course director did was, he said one of our previous students from this course itself has set up a startup and he was looking for people from the same academic background to be able to work in his startup. I'll put in a word for you. You go ahead and meet him. And this is what Mayank reported to me. So I said, have you shared your resume with your course director? He said, yes. I said, now let us update your LinkedIn. So very quickly, within 24 hours, we updated his LinkedIn with whatever he had done. So many posts came, within the gap of 24 hours, we posted somewhere around 14, 15 posts. But then everything was updated, his about information, another information that was usually static, but the other dynamic part also underwent change. So next, after 2 days, Mayank reports for the interview. He goes there. The founder of the startup is there, and he says, "Yes, what is it?" And he said, "Yeah, I passed out." And they say, he said, "Yes, yes." The course director spoke to me. So anything else? Anything you want to know from us? Mayank was so surprised. He said, "Don't you want to ask me something? Because I've come here for the interview." He said, "No, no. We've looked at your LinkedIn profile. We've got all the information. We know you're sorted, good to go. So we don't really want to take your interview." So he said, "But do you have any questions for us?" Mayank said, "Yes, of course." "When can I start?" He said, "Oh, pull up a chair for this guy, Mayank here. Give him a desk. You can start from now itself, Mayank." So this is the power of LinkedIn. People actually go on LinkedIn, even if you come recommended, even if your resume is there, to look at actually how you are doing. It is a huge networking website. I have had students from TIDE, faculty from TIDE who have connected with other researchers in Australia, in Europe via LinkedIn, and have, even in the last program that I conducted in person from Rama ma'am at NITR, I had a lady scholar, a teacher from Kanpur, who had connected with another researcher on LinkedIn and had got fully funded master's scholarship to study in the Netherlands. And this she was telling me about 10 years ago from today. And this is the case just 4 or 5 weeks ago when I was at NITR to engage the session in person. So these are actual things that happen. Do not think that LinkedIn is of no use. It is actually very helpful. Let me share another thing about Twitter. So during the lockdown, the first lockdown 2020, we started working with school students who started feeling, and not young school students, like I said, 14, 15-year-old onwards. So we started working under a special program with them to develop life skills. To keep them engaged and to keep them positively, productively engaged, we advise them to make their professional presence or accounts created on the internet. So that included two platforms, one LinkedIn, the other Twitter. Now this person, this young boy in class ninth at that time, wanted to be a chef. He wanted to be a chef like Vikas Khanna. Vikas Khanna is a celebrity chef who hails from Amritsar. Amritsar is about 4 hours drive from here, Chandigarh. So he's a big role model for someone who comes from a small city, a tier 3 city in India, and achieves big in New York. So Vikas Khanna has won the Michelin star, the highest star ranking for people in the profession of cooking. He has his own Michelin star awarded restaurant in New York, other two cities of USA, one in London, one in Australia. So this guy is really going places because of his culinary skills. And he's a big role model for someone as young as Adit. So Adit creates his account on Twitter and on LinkedIn. Then we also encourage them to be active on Instagram. On Twitter itself, Vikas Khanna floated during the first lockdown that food, grains, and other perishable raw material was perishing, was getting spoilt in his outfits or in his warehouses and locations across the country. He had secured special permission from the governments and wanted to mobilize this food material for distribution amongst the downtrodden and the laborers and migrants from Amritsar and the areas nearby. And he wanted volunteers for the activity. So quickly, Adit, who had already been following Vikas Khanna on Twitter, had been posting on his posts, asking him comments, but never ever did Vikas Khanna engage with him. But he quickly volunteered, saying that I am in Chandigarh, 4 hours from Amritsar, and right in the middle of the road or the distance from Delhi to Amritsar. So I can be very helpful. My parents are okay with it. They have decided to support me, to take me out, to take stuff out for me and all that. So Adit had to coordinate the movement of goods, movement of food items over the phone only, and perhaps over the email. And he did a good job. And that is how Vikas Khanna came to know of him, and also was prepared to write a letter of recommendation for him. And when he came to know that Adit also nurtures a dream to study culinary skills and become a chef like him, Vikas committed to helping him in the best way possible whenever the need or requirement came in future. Then in 2021, Vikas Khanna for the first time to collect money, because the wave of COVID was still continuing. I think it was the Delta wave, and we were not under strict lockdown, but still it was a lockdown, and he wanted to raise money for donation. He offered a very special baking class for the first time online, in which he was going to teach some kind of pastries or sweets uh, through bakery. And he floated, it was the class, 4 sessions, it was in dollars. And Adit saw the advertisement on Instagram, reached out to Vikas Khanna, registered for it. And Vikas Khanna said, "No, this is my gift to you," refunded his fee, and allowed Adit to enroll in the class and attend the bakery classes in without paying anything. That is the power of Twitter. That is how someone, who comes from a very humble background is able to access and partake of the best opportunities, because they have been active on Twitter and LinkedIn. The whole point of being on the internet or anywhere on the world wide web is to be recent, is to be dynamic, and it's to be vibrating at all time. So if you're present and you can keep your presence being felt regularly, most of the times, then people want to engage with you, because it does take effort to be present and to create ripples in this very huge, humongous platform. So let me share with you very quickly about LinkedIn. Now, this is a quote from Whitney Wolfe Herd. Whitney Wolfe Herd is a management coach, and she says that being solicited on LinkedIn is a real thing that happens. So there's a tag called marketplace, wherein freelancers or people who are self-employed or people looking for employment or job put up their profiles, their requirements, their availability, and many companies fulfill their talent requirements by hiring on LinkedIn. Like I shared with you with that company in SFO, San Francisco, where that guy is now working. Jeff Weiner is again a communication and a management coach based in the US, of course, and he says LinkedIn is increasingly becoming a very strong place for companies to develop their talent plans. So their talent plans are shaped around LinkedIn. Who's available? Who's left a job? Even the hirings of the rank of CXOs are done on LinkedIn. Their recruitment plans, and so there are ways in which we can track some of the momentum there. We can be a part of this whole process, recruitment momentum. This is what it should be used for, LinkedIn. Very quickly, let me tell you about Twitter. So Ariana Huff is present on Twitter with this handle, with this profile name. She says about Twitter, it is not just about consuming content on Twitter, but sharing it, passing it on, and adding to it. So this is how we create more value for others, by writing. If not writing, by just reading, by reposting, sharing it, by sharing the URL, the link of that post, that Twitter comment with our colleagues, with our peers and friends as a direct message, or as a web link that is posted in a WhatsApp message, in an Instagram message, in a Facebook message, in an email message. Passing it on and adding to it by commenting on someone else's post on Twitter. This is how we make our presence felt, and we contribute to the larger community of Intergestia that is present on Twitter. So how do we use these two platforms to engage discussions? First is to create your visibility. Discussions should not only be encouraged amongst people within the same fold, whom you know, your friends, family, peers, and colleagues, but also people who are outside your purview of contact sphere, but within the same domain of area and subject. How will they get motivated to connect with you if they come to know of you? So that means you need to create a space for yourself in the relevant manner or domain. So you should put up information about yourself, beginning with the first impressions, and that is your picture. People make 11 decisions about us in the first second 7 sessions of looking at us. 11 decisions, 7 seconds. That is what is the rate. So that is why you need to have a good photograph, professional background, that you're looking very much sorted, in command of the situation, and you can be trusted. Then you put up your about information, and it should be continually updated. Put it in reverse chronological order so that when the system is picking up something and throwing it at people who are visiting your profile, it picks up from the top, it picks up the top 2 sentences. Now, those top 2 sentences have to be most relevant, most recent, because this is what you're doing these days. And the moment you get some other achievement, some other project completed, update that about information there. Primary target occupation, even the target one, not if you're in working somewhere, but if you're looking to work somewhere, even that can be posted. Seeking opportunities. So that is how, keywords should be included. So when someone types on the search tab in LinkedIn, opportunities, looking for or searching for content writing, immediately your profile should come up. Generic terms, top skills should be mentioned. The paragraph, the information should be broken up in different paragraphs so that there's clear segregation of content and it's easy to read and understand. I've talked about reverse chronological order already. Then experience comes about after the about information, your experience. If your students haven't had any experience, they should talk about extracurricular, co-curricular activities. Again, in reverse chronological order. And remember to link, because if we have organizations that are present or individuals that are present on LinkedIn, you should link it to them, because someone searching for them would also land on your page or profile. Education history should also be included. Same ways, college, school, university should also be tagged. Name the exact degrees and certifications and put the years there. You can create greater visibility for yourself by posting regular articles and posts on your own profile. You should include hashtags. The LinkedIn and the Twitter software prompts you to use hashtags based on the words that are there in your main content. So you should use that and apply those. Then comes credibility. You should seek endorsements from connections and contacts on LinkedIn. They can even give you a proper testimonial, which is a short composition, 2 paragraphs, 1 paragraph or 2 paragraphs, right, written about your competencies and skills and the work that you did with them. And they can recommend you to the others. They can even testify for your skills. Then on the search tab, you can actually look for 6 things. You can look for people, jobs, companies, groups. You join groups of the same target market, same interest people. You can look for content, and you can look for schools on LinkedIn. You can look for internships. Guide your students to look for internships on LinkedIn. Many of our students have got better internships on LinkedIn than on Internshala and other private internship portals which are available free of cost on LinkedIn, on Google. You can even add work tab with multiple features which are relevant for a company and organization. So when you tap into that, you know what a company or an organization is looking for, and perhaps customize your profile to the same. You can comment on the content posted by others, tag someone else who's present on LinkedIn, and the moment that person reads the comment that you put with your name, with their name in it, they reply to it, and a discussion has started. Sometimes a person who's put out the original content and you have commented would like your comment so much, can pin your comment on the top. That first thing that a person reads in comment section is your comment. They might like it so much. In response to your comment, the author, author of the original composition can also reply. Others can also reply. So this is how LinkedIn discussion forum is created. It is the same way replicated on Twitter. The only difference is Twitter has limited our postings capacity to 180 characters. It earlier allowed only text to be posted. Now it allows to overcome competition from Instagram and Facebook, posting of short videos, posting of pictures with a little bit of content. But otherwise, it is the same. The only difference is Twitter has thought leaders on various areas, not only celebrities, but also thought leaders from various areas and domains working, present, and posting generously, frequently, so as to share information. They're even talking about their research projects which are not yet authorized and complete and not even published in any scientific magazine or any recognized journal. They are even talking about work in progress, so that there can be a lot of brainstorming happening on that area openly in with people who are not a part of their contact sphere. So that is how networking can help us to engage in discussions. We can post a comment on someone else's post, we can share the post on LinkedIn or elsewhere and tag them. We can quote or retweet a tweet. So quote is we write something on the top of our own as observation and we put it up on our wall. Retweet is without any text by us. We just share what someone else has said and put it up also on our profile on Twitter. We can use direct messaging for interaction, for networking, and that in itself can encourage, if it is taken up by the writer, whether on Twitter or on LinkedIn, a direct conversation, discussion with the author, with the researcher, with the thought leader, and it allows us to remain in contact with them. Of course, if we are cold calling, which is also possible through direct messaging, we should also introduce ourselves first and why we are requesting them to make a connection or interact with us. We have to remember that there are certain ethics and etiquette of networking. We need to make our accounts there. We need to use these profiles for, sharing homework, for creating discussions openly in an open forum, inviting others to participate by using relevant hashtags and all that. But then there are certain aspects that we should be careful of, so that we do not cross the domain of positive productive use and get into negative or adverse uses or adverse outcomes of using these social media and professional media platforms. We should also always adhere to our working hours to communicate. So you might have an interaction with someone based in another time zone, so they will operate or they will communicate with you within their own working hours or within their own hours of waking up. But that doesn't mean that you have to be available for them if it is night time at your place. You can very easily take a break and reply to the message or the comment when you wake up next and it is decent time to interact. And it holds true for the other person also. Any kind of contact information like phone number or email address should always be used for professional purposes only. Then, because then you will be publicly slammed if you're not following this ethic. And that is how the youngsters also come to know how they have to keep in check their tendencies to go overboard with someone's contact information. This practice, this temperament or nature of these two platforms in itself trains the youngsters to be careful with sensitive contact information that comes their way of other people. And whenever we are forming or becoming a part of a group on LinkedIn or Twitter, we should remember that we should bring something to the table. We should contribute, perhaps by way of sharing knowledge and information shared by someone else. We should also share something original of our own, which may be of even little bit significance, but it does go in as a positive contribution from our end. Not always joining to look out, oh, what are the latest research opportunities? Wherein can I apply? Is somebody looking for posting the requirement for a job or something somewhere? How can I use this information? You should also provide information and resist your students not to share falsehood on LinkedIn or Twitter, because then if it is not found to be correct, one can be publicly disgraced. It is good idea to use formal language, so good communication skills also develop in the bargain. Polite courtesies of communication, two C's of communication, courtesy and consideration, develop in a very good, enhanced manner in students, youngsters, or even anybody using these platforms for communication and networking. We learn to respect the boundaries set up by the others. So this is something that should be encouraged in your students. Again, we have to keep our profile updated and fresh. Only then will others be encouraged to interact with us. And we should not be in a rush. Our students especially should not be in a rush to make a sales pitch or a cold call for themselves if they have become part of any interaction with a thought leader or person of repute, immense repute and influence. We should rather treat that opportunity as a privilege to interact and gain more knowledge and information from that person rather than something as materialistic as a job or an internship. And we should remain active on LinkedIn and Twitter, because then only will the software, the programs of the two applications identify us as an active user and prompt us up to other people. Whenever other people come and search for keywords which are included in our profile will land up at the top, if not at the topmost, but amongst the top profiles, automatically prompted by the software, if we remain an active user of these platforms. And that is how discussion can also be encouraged, especially through networking. I hope I have been able to shed enough light about LinkedIn and Twitter as well, in addition to blog writing. If there are any questions, I'm open